You've heard of therapy? You've heard of protests? But what if saving the planet wasn't just about the Earth? What if it was also a way to save your own mind? Greta Thunberg didn't just rise because of climate change. She rose because something inside her couldn't breathe in a world that was burning. She didn't just fight for sustainability. She found healing inside it. This is the story of how sustainability stopped being a political issue and became one of the most powerful forms of mental health therapy in the 21st century. And this might just change the way you look at your anxiety forever. Asterisk. The storm behind the silent she never asked to become a symbol. Greta was just a girl, sitting on the cold ground with a cardboard sin alone, trembling but immovable. The world watched, many applauded, others ridiculed, but few asked, what did it cost her mind to carry the weight of a dying planet? Behind her steady eyes were not just facts and charts, there was grief. Silent, suffocating grief. A grief not born from personal loss, but from collective blindness, when watching forests burn and oceans choke while everyone scrolls endlessly through noise. Mental health is rarely mentioned when we speak of activists, but every scream for change comes from a cracked psyche. The stronger the cry, the deeper the wound. Greta's war was not just against carbon, but against the collapse within. The collapse of meaning, the collapse of hope. She didn't just speak for the earth. She spoke for every anxious soul who can't sleep at night because they feel everything. It's too much. Share if you've ever felt the weight of the world on your chest without knowing why. Comment if silence ever screamed louder than words. Asterisk Greta's silence before the STOR, before the world heard her voice. Greta sat in silence. Not the silence of surrender, but the quiet rage of a young soul, watching the earth bleed. She wasn't always the emblem of climate resistance. She was a teenager struggling to breathe in a world that kept burning. The fires outside mirrored the fires within. Her depression was not just a personal battle, but a mirror to the global numbness toward destruction. She withdrew from school, not to escape learning, but to begin teaching, showing that mental health, for her, could only be reclaimed when nature was heard. It was in the act of protest, of rooting her pain and purpose, that she began to heal. Her Fridays for Future became rituals of recovery, not only for the planet, but for her own fractured being. Greta's journey reveals that ecological activism can be a lifeline for those drowning in existential dread. In a world overwhelmed by digital noise and emotional disconnection, finding communion with the earth can anchor the self. Her silence, once misunderstood, was the soil where resilience took root. Greta did not just speak for the trees, she listened to them. And in doing so, she remembered herself. Asterisk the day the forest spoke back in the middle of the Swedish countryside. A young Greta once sat in silence, surrounded by the tall pines that whispered in the wind. It was not the silence of peace, but the silence of a world crying out, unheard. The more she listened, the more she realized that nature had a voice, a deep, old voice carved into bark, stitched into leaves, going through root systems. It was not metaphorical. It was physiological. Her body responded to the stillness. Her breath slowed. Her anxiety, usually loud and unruly, began to soften, as if soothed by the trees themselves. This was not therapy in a sterile room. This was something ancient, something pre-verbal, something elemental. While Greta's activism would one day roar across the globe, it began in these quiet, green altars. She often described the forest as her refuge, her classroom, her mirror. When mental exhaustion gripped her, she didn't escape into distraction, she leaned into presence. Walking barefoot through moss, sitting by lakes for hours without speaking, allowing nature to hold her, to regulate her nervous system in ways no synthetic environment could. Stillness. Something radical happened. She felt realigned. Nature wasn't an escape, it was a return to coherence, to self, to breath. A therapeutic reconnection between inner landscape and outer ecology. This is what many now call cop psychology, the understanding that the earth's wounds and the mind's wounds are not separate. Greta, perhaps unknowingly at first, became one of its youngest and loudest embodiments. Her mental health journey was not detached from climate action, it was woven into it. Fighting. For the planet wasn't just about polar bears or sea levels. It was about preserving the very environments that had kept her sane. And when we understand that, everything shifts. We no longer see environmentalism as political, but as personal, intimate, sacred. To protect the forest was to protect her own mind. So when she spoke of the planet burning, she was also speaking of her internal alarms. When she cried in the UN, it wasn't theatrics, it was the trauma of a generation being ignored, repressed, invalidated. Her rage was medicinal, her sadness instructive. The world began to listen. Not because she was loud, but because her truth was rooted in something far deeper than protest. It was rooted in survival, not just of species, but of spirit. Greta reminded us that healing isn't linear, and that perhaps the forests we save may one day save us. Greta's inner struggle and nature's mirror behind Greta. Thunberg's unwavering public stance lies a deeply personal story, one marked by anxiety, sensory sensitivity, and social isolation. Diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, Greta often described her mind as a hurricane of thoughts, spinning restlessly in search of peace. The noise of the world, the cruelty of inaction, and the dissonance of modern life created a psychological tension that few could understand. But rather than suppress these emotions with pills or distractions, Greta turned her suffering into signal. The pain became a compass, pointing her toward the natural world not as escape, but as alignment. Nature, in all its stillness and complexity, became her sanctuary and teacher. Greta found that the trees did not rush, the oceans did not apologize, and the sun did not compete. It simply rose. This rhythm grounded her. In the presence of living systems, her thoughts slowed. Her sensitivity, often misunderstood by society, became a profound channel for connection. Every walk through the forest became a form of therapy. Every breeze carried messages that no therapist had ever managed to articulate. She was not curing her mental health, she was integrating it with the biosphere. This ecological intimacy began to shape her entire worldview. Greta's activism was not just about policy change or climate numbers, it was a psychological reclamation. She was, in essence, healing a fractured inner world by reimagining an external one. And through that process, she discovered that ecological justice and mental clarity are not separate paths. They spiral around the same axis. It's not merely that nature is healing it, that alienation from it is a form of spiritual sickness. Mental health, when viewed through Greta's lens, is less about individual chemical imbalances and more about collective environmental trauma. Her body carried the weight of a planet's pain, and in confronting that burden, she revealed how deeply entwined our nervous systems are with the ecosystems we inhabit. The rainforest burns, and so does our mind. The coral reefs bleach, and so do our memories. Greta showed that to ignore the planet's pain is to anesthetize our own, and that real healing must be planetary in scope. This was not metaphor, it was medicine. A medicine not sold in bottles but breathed in forests, felt through soil, and shared through courage. Greta became the reluctant shaman of a disoriented generation, teaching through example that if we do not find belonging in the earth, we will forever feel lost in ourselves. She wasn't simply fighting for climate action. She was demonstrating a forgotten truth, that emotional stability and ecological stability are mirrors of each other. Now imagine a world where children aren't told they're too sensitive, but rather deeply in tune, where therapy begins not in sterile offices but beneath canopies of green, where depression is not merely medicated but composted, broken down, and transformed into empathy, action, and awe. Greta didn't invent this path. She remembered it, and her remembering is what reignited ours. Every time she sat in silent protest, she wasn't just defying political systems, she was defending her mind from collapse. And through that radical act of preservation, she gave millions permission to do the same, to slow down, to root, to remember. In Greta's silence, nature spoke louder than any therapist ever could. What part of Greta's story resonates most with you? Share your reflection in the comments, and let this block spark an emotional wildfire. The Earth as a mirror of the inner self. When Greta Thunberg speaks of the Earth, she does not merely mention data, graphs, or carbon emissions. She speaks of grief, rage, hope, and renewal. Her voice echoes the cry of a generation whose emotional well-being is intrinsically tied to the fate of the planet. Climate anxiety is not just a concept, it's a psychological wound born from witnessing the slow unraveling of ecosystems and the dissonance of human indifference. And yet, within this anxiety lies a powerful gateway for healing through action, community, and reconnection with the Earth's rhythms. Imagine planting a tree, not just as an ecological act, but as a symbolic ritual of anchoring the soul. Every root that sinks into the soil mirrors the human need for belonging. Every leaf that turns to the sun teaches us resilience. Greta's activism reminds us that in a fragmented world, sustainability is not simply about saving the planet, it's about stitching back together the dismembered parts of ourselves. The climate movement becomes an emotional movement, reclaiming agency in a world where despair too often silences the spirit. This understanding transforms the forest into a sanctuary, the ocean into a breathing body, and the wind into a voice that answers back. In the act of defending nature, we defend the sanctity of our minds. Greta's symbolic presence, silent, staring into the eyes of power, teaches us the profound mental strength found in stillness. She does not yell, she radiates. And in her silence, we are invited to listen, not only to the Earth, but to the tremors within our own psyche. Through this lens, sustainability becomes a therapeutic modality. Community gardens become spaces of dialogue and reflection. Walking barefoot becomes a reconnection ceremony. Even the choice to consume less, to pause before purchasing, becomes a mindful meditation. Mental health, then, is not confined to clinics or couches. It breathes through compost piles, thrives in regenerative farming, and glows in the eyes of those who dare to care radically. Greta's influence shows us that healing the planet and healing the mind are not separate paths, but twin trails weaving through the same forest. We learn that activism, when rooted in compassion rather than fear, nourishes the nervous system. That environmental justice is also emotional justice. That hope is not naive, is strategic, deliberate, and deeply human. And as we carry her message forward, we begin to see sustainability not only as a cause, but as a way of being fully alive. The garden is a sanctuary of the SOU, Greta Thunberg. Though often seen as a fierce climate warrior, embodies a quieter revolution, one of presence. Her connection with the Earth is not rooted merely in activism, but in an emotional refuge. Nature became her escape when the noise of the world became unbearable. She speaks of forests as her sanctuary, and silence as her closest friend. This isn't a political stance, it's a deeply personal healing strategy. The same Earth she fights to protect is the one that calms her storms. To understand this deeper, imagine a garden not just as a plot of soil, but as a mirror to the inner self. When we plant, tend, and watch something grow, our nervous system slows down. Our breathing aligns with the rhythms of nature. This isn't poetic abstraction, this is neuroscience. Exposure to green spaces reduces cortisol, lowers blood pressure, and rewires the amygdala's fear response. Greta's message, though urgent, is delivered from a place of internal regulation shaped by this exact natural proximity. Many therapeutic approaches now incorporate ecopsychology, the idea that human psyche and planet are entangled. What heals the Earth heals us. Greta, though not a licensed therapist, embodies this ethos through her lifestyle. She avoids overconsumption, speaks of seasonal rhythms, and stays grounded in the local. These aren't just climate-conscious decisions, they're rituals of mental preservation. She turns away from the speed of technology and toward the slowness of trees. In doing so, Greta aligns with a lineage of thinkers who saw nature as therapy: Henry David Thoreau, Carl Jung, Rachel Carson. Her activism is spiritual, not because she preaches mysticism, but because she listens to silence. The forests don't need to speak for her to understand. And in that listening, the human brain recalibrates. It's not a cure, but it is a balm. One that works best when used daily, slowly, without distraction. This approach of seeing nature as a partner in healing could redefine the way we see mental health. What if depression wasn't just a chemical imbalance, but also a disconnection from the ecosystems we evolved in? Greta's life urges this question. She invites us to imagine a life not powered by dopamine spikes from screens, but by dopamine drips from planting seeds. The way forward, then, might be backward. Back to soil, to sunlight, to slowness. When sustainability is embodied as Greta does, it transcends politics and enters the realm of psychological ritual, choosing to walk instead. Of drive isn't just about emissions, it's about breathing deeper, noticing textures, regaining rhythm. The sustainable life isn't austere, it's sensory, it's alive. This is where Greta's personal mental health journey and her ecological mission become indistinguishable. Healing the planet becomes a form of self-rescue. If this resonates with you, share it with someone who might be chasing speed in a world craving stillness. What's your garden? Drop a comment below and let us feel your green space. The power of purpose. Activism as therapy for Greta Thunberg.
Activism was never just protest.
It was a lifeline. When anxiety and despair threatened to consume her, she transformed those emotions into action. This shift from passive suffering to active engagements is a powerful therapeutic mechanism. Purpose provides structure to chaos. It turns pain into fuel and confusion into direction. Greta's strikes became rituals of resilience, each march a declaration that her mind and body refused to succumb to helplessness. Scientific studies affirm what Greta's story exemplifies. Purposeful activity strengthens mental health. Meaningful engagement reduces depression and anxiety. By activating the brain's reward pathways and fostering social connection, the act of fighting for something greater than oneself releases dopamine and oxytocin, chemicals essential to emotional well-being. Greta's global movement offers a collective outlet for eco-anxiety, turning individual fear into shared hope and communal strength. This transformation also challenges the traditional notion of mental health care. Healing isn't always inward. It often demands outward movement. Greta's activism is a form of embodied therapy, reconnecting mind, body, and environment. Stepping into her power, she breaks cycles of isolation and rumination. She models a new paradigm, healing through contribution, through solidarity, through grounded purpose. Moreover, activism builds community, another vital component of mental wellness. Greta's Fridays for Future created a global tribe, a network of solidarity that nurtures emotional support and collective empowerment. This community helps dissolve loneliness, a major factor in mental illness, by fostering belonging and shared identity. Together, they don't just fight climate change, they fight despair. Greta's journey teaches us that mental health isn't only about surviving the internal storm, but learning to sail through it. Activism, when rooted in sustainability, offers both an anchor and a sail. It grounds us in meaning and propels us toward hope. In this shared purpose, healing ripples outward, transforming individuals, communities, and the planet itself. How do you find purpose in your life? Share your story below and inspire others to find healing through action. The silent rage that fuels CH in Greta Thunberg's passion often reads as anger or quiet, burning rage beneath her composed exterior. But anger, when channeled with intention, is not destructive, it is catalytic. Psychology teaches us that suppressed anger festers into anxiety and depression, but expressed anger can become a transformative force. Greta's rage is sacred fire, a power that fuels her relentless pursuit of climate justice. It is both a response to injustice and a source of resilience. Her fury is rooted in love, love for a planet ravaged by neglect, and love for generations who will inherit its wounds. This deep emotional connection drives her to act, transforming despair into determination. The sacred nature of her anger lies in its focus. It is not aimless or vengeful, but pointed towards systemic change. Through this, Greta embodies the paradox of strength and vulnerability, showing that embracing difficult emotions can lead to profound empowerment. Anger also connects us to truth. Greta's outspokenness pierces through political indifference and societal apathy. Her rage demands acknowledgement of uncomfortable realities many prefer to ignore. It awakens collective conscience, reminding us that mental health and environmental health are intertwined crises requiring urgent attention. This anger, far from alienating, invites participation and solidarity. Importantly, Greta's example teaches that emotional regulation is not about suppressing feelings, but transforming them. She models how to harness inner fire without being consumed. This alchemy, turning rage into constructive action, is a crucial skill in today's fractured world. It suggests a new path for mental health, one that honors emotion as fuel rather than foe. Finally, this silent rage offers hope. It tells us that despair need not be a dead end, but a threshold to renewal. Greta's journey from anguish to advocacy illuminates how confronting pain can awaken purpose, how accepting anger can birth change, and how healing begins when we listen to the fire within. Have you ever felt anger that sparked positive change? Share your experience and inspire others to transform their emotions into action. Minimalism as a path to mental CLR, ITIST, in a world overloaded with distractions and excess. Greta Thunberg embraces minimalism not just as an environmental choice, but as a mental necessity. Her life stripped down to essentials is a deliberate rejection of consumer culture's noise, which often fuels anxiety and fragmentation of attention. Minimalism offers her a space of clarity and calm where the mind can breathe and focus. By choosing less, she gains more presence, intention. This radical simplicity reflects a profound understanding of sustainability beyond the planet. Sustainability beyond the planet's about sustaining the self, a rising possession. Isn't deprivation for Greta? It's liberation from the clutter that clouds mental health. Each small act of restraint is a statement of care for the environment and care for her own nervous system. It's a daily practice that aligns her external lifestyle with her internal needs. Science supports this approach. Studies show that cluttered environments increase cortisol levels and decrease cognitive performance. Living minimally creates a physical and psychological environment conducive to mental restoration. Greta's minimalist lifestyle, therefore, serves as a form of self-prescribed therapy, reinforcing her resilience against the overwhelming pressures of activism and public scrutiny. Beyond personal benefits, Greta's minimalism models a powerful cultural shift. It challenges society to reconsider the meaning of success and happiness. It invites reflection on the mental cost of excess and the healing potential of simplicity. Her example inspires others to seek mental clarity through conscious living, showing that sustainability is holistic, integrating body, mind, and planet. Ultimately, minimalism is more than a lifestyle choice for Greta. It's a deliberate path to harmony. By reducing excess, she restores mental space, allowing her message to resonate with purity and strength. It is a reminder that sometimes the most radical action is simply to let go. How has simplifying your life affected your mental well-being? Share your journey and inspire mindful change. Connection. The healing power of CIO and Muonite, Greta Thunberg's fight for sustainability isn't just an individual journey, it's a collective movement grounded in connection. Loneliness and isolation exacerbate mental health struggles worldwide. But through activism, Greta found community, a global network of voices united by purpose. This sense of belonging became a vital balm for her psyche, transforming alienation into solidarity and despair into hope. The Fridays for Future movement blossomed into more than protests. It created a sanctuary where young people could share their fears, frustrations, and dreams. Together, they broke the silence around eco-anxiety and mental health, proving that vulnerability fosters strength. Community offers emotional support, validation, and shared resilience, all crucial for healing internal wounds, scientific research highlights. The protective effects of social connection on mental health. Human beings are wired for belonging, and shared activism amplifies feelings of agency and empowerment. Greta's leadership helped form a tribe that not only demands climate justice, but nurtures psychological well-being through mutual care. Moreover, collective action mitigates feelings of helplessness. Knowing others are fighting alongside you turns overwhelming challenges into shared missions. This diffusion of responsibility lightens emotional burdens and fuels perseverance. Greta's example shows that healing as socialite grows in the fertile soil of connection. In this way, community becomes a vessel for transformation, a space where personal and planetary healing intersect. Greta's story reminds us that sustainability thrives not in isolation but through collective commitment, making the journey toward mental health and environmental justice a shared, hopeful endeavor. Who is in your circle of support? Tag them and celebrate the healing power of community. Nature as original hapler long before modern medicine. Humans found healing in the natural world. Greta Thunberg's journey reconnects us to this ancient truth. Nature is the original healer of both body and mind. Scientific studies now confirm what indigenous cultures have known for centuries: exposure to green spaces reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and improves mood. For Greta, time spent in forests and by lakes is not a luxury but a necessity, form of medicine beyond pharmaceuticals. The multisensory experience of nature, the sound of rustling leaves, the scent of earth after rain, the feel of moss beneath fingertips, engages our nervous system in ways that foster calm and resilience. These natural rhythms help regulate brain function, offering a grounding counterpoint to the chaos of modern life. Greta's activism is deeply intertwined with this sensory connection. Embodying a holistic approach to well-being, this healing potential of nature is not just individual, but collective. As ecosystems regenerate, so too do communities and cultures. Greta's call to protect the planet is a call to preserve the living systems that sustain mental and emotional health worldwide. The health of the earth and the health of its inhabitants are inseparable. Understanding nature as a therapeutic partner invites a paradigm shift in mental health care. It expands the definition of treatment to include ecological stewardship and outdoor immersion. Greta's life models this integration, her mental clarity and strength. Rooted in sustained engagement with the environment she fights to protect, by embracing nature as healer, we honor the profound interdependence between human well-being and planetary health. Greta reminds us that healing ourselves and healing the earth are one and the same sacred journey. What natural place brings you peace? Share your sanctuary and inspire others to reconnect with nature's healing power. Rituals of reconnection, the daily practice of Greta Thunberg's activism is deeply rooted in daily rituals that ground her in both purpose and presence. These are not grand gestures but small, intentional acts, walking instead of driving, eating locally, conserving energy that collectively form a sacred practice of reconnection. These habits serve as bridges between her inner world and the earth, creating a rhythmic harmony that sustains her mental health amid global turmoil. Rituals have long been recognized by psychologists as powerful tools for emotional regulation. They bring predictability to chaos, helping to calm the nervous system and foster a sense of control. For Greta, her sustainable lifestyle is a form of ritualized self-care, where every conscious choice reinforces her identity as a caretaker of both the planet and herself. Such rituals also cultivate mindfulness, encouraging deep awareness of the present moment. Whether it's planting a seed, feeling the texture of soil, or pausing to breathe deeply under the sun, these moments anchor Greta in a lived experience that transcends anxiety. They reconnect her to the cycles of nature, reminding her that life is a series of continuous renewals, in a society overwhelmed by speed and consumption. Greta's ritualistic sustainability invites us to slow down and savor. It teaches that healing is not only about monumental actions, but also about the quiet consistency of daily choices. This practice transforms sustainability from abstract ideal to lived reality, nurturing mental resilience. Through these rituals, Greta embodies a transformative message. Healing the planet begins with healing ourselves, one mindful step at a time. Her daily acts ripple outward, inspiring a collective rhythm of care and connection that holds hope for the future. What small rituals help you reconnect to yourself and the earth? Share your daily practices and inspire mindful change. Youth. Awakened, a generation healing through SUSTA Nayabai Lit. White Greta Thunberg is the emblem of a larger, awakening a generation that refuses to separate their mental health from the health of the planet. Young people worldwide are increasingly aware that the climate crisis is not just an environmental problem, but an emotional and psychological one. Eco-anxiety, climate grief, and feelings of helplessness are widespread, yet within this collective pain lies a powerful source of resilience and hope. This generation is transforming anxiety into activism, grief into growth. Through grassroots movements, community organizing, and innovative sustainability projects, young people are reclaiming agency over their futures and minds. Greta's leadership has sparked a global conversation, giving voice to those who feel overwhelmed and unseen. Her example shows that vulnerability is strength, that healing happens in shared purpose. Psychologists are beginning to recognize the therapeutic potential of this collective engagement. Being part of a cause larger than oneself fosters meaning, reduces isolation, and strengthens emotional regulation. The solidarity found in climate activism provides a vital support system for young people, navigating the turbulent waters of modern life. It turns mental health challenges into opportunities for connection and empowerment. Moreover, this movement redefines what it means to be well. Wellness is no longer just personal, it's planetary. Mental health care increasingly includes ecological awareness and sustainable living as essential components. Greta's generation teaches us that healing is interconnected. To heal oneself, one must heal the world. Their courage reminds us all, mental health and sustainability are not separate struggles, but intertwined journeys. By embracing this truth, young people like Greta lead the way toward a future where emotional well-being and ecological balance grow hand in hand. Are you part of this awakening? Share your story of healing through sustainability and inspire others to join the movement. The technology paradox, balancing progress and CNCE in the digital age. Greta Thunberg's message carries an urgent paradox while technology connects us globally, it often disconnects us internally and from nature. Social media fuels awareness, but also overloads the mind with endless streams of information, much of it negative and anxiety. Greta's activism harnesses technology as a tool for change, yet she also warns of the mental toll it takes, inviting us to balance progress with presence. Her life exemplifies this delicate dance. Greta uses online platforms to amplify her voice, organize global strikes, and inspire millions. But she consciously steps away from screens to reconnect with the earth. This balance is vital for mental health, allowing space to process emotions, foster mindfulness, and reduce overstimulation. The rapid pace of digital life often fragments attention, undermining the brain's capacity for deep reflection and calm. Neuroscience shows that constant exposure to screens can disrupt sleep, increase stress hormones, and impair emotional regulation. Greta's intentional disconnection from technology serves as a protective measure, digital detox grounded in the recognition that sustainable living includes mental boundaries. Her example urges us to reclaim control over our digital consumption as part of a holistic sustainability practice. Moreover, this paradox reflects the larger challenge of integrating modern innovation with ancient wisdom. Sustainability is not about rejecting technology, but about using it mindfully, honoring natural rhythms while embracing human ingenuity. Greta's balanced approach offers a roadmap. Use tools to fight for the planet, but do not let them consume your mental space. In this balance lies hope. By navigating the tension between connectivity and solitude, progress and presence, we nurture a sustainable mind as well as a sustainable planet. Greta's journey invites us all to find harmony in this modern paradox and reclaim mental clarity amid digital noise. How do you balance technology and presence in your life? Share your tips and experiences in the comments below. Asterisk. Hope, as a revolutionary Greta Thunberg's journey, teaches us that hope is not naive optimism, is a radical, revolutionary act. In the face of overwhelming climate crises and mental health struggles, choosing hope requires courage, persistence, and vulnerability. Greta embodies this courage, showing that hope is an active stance, a commitment to keep moving forward even when the path is uncertain and the weight feels unbearable. Hope, in Greta's story, is deeply intertwined with sustainability and mental health. It is the belief that healing is possible both for the planet and for ourselves. This hope fuels activism, transforms grief into purpose, and nurtures resilience. It reminds us that every small act of care, every seed planted, every voice raised, contributes to a larger movement toward renewal. Psychological research supports hope's power as a protective factor against anxiety and depression. It encourages problem solving, enhances motivation, and fosters social bonds. Greta's unwavering hope has mobilized millions, creating a collective energy that transcends despair. Through this shared hope, communities find strength and sustain their mental well-being amid crisis. Moreover, hope reframes our relationship with the future. Instead of fearing what may come, it invites us to imagine and build a world where mental health and environmental stewardship coexist harmoniously. Greta's example calls us to be architects of that future, reminding us that hope is not passive, it is work, love, and defiance. As this journey closes, remember, healing the mind and healing the planet are one. Hope is the thread weaving these together, binding individual pain with collective possibility. In choosing hope, we choose life, resilient, interconnected, and enduring. What gives you hope in challenging times? Share your light in the comments and inspire others to keep believing and acting. Asterisk. Greta's story is more than a narrative of climate activism. It is a profound lesson on the inseparability of mental health and sustainability. She shows us that healing begins when we listen deeply to the earth, to our bodies, and to each other. That the pain we feel for the planet mirrors the pain within ourselves, and that caring for one is caring for the other. In a world overwhelmed by crisis, Greta's journey invites us to pause, breathe, and reconnect, to find sanctuary in nature's rhythms, transform anger into action, and build communities grounded in hope and purpose. She teaches that sustainable living is not just a political stance, but a radical act of self-care and collective survival. Now, it's our turn to take these lessons into our own lives, to cultivate rituals of presence, to embrace vulnerability as strength, and to choose hope as a revolutionary act. The future depends on this synergy between mind and earth, between activism and healing. So I invite you, step into this movement of conscious care. Share your story, your struggles, your moments of healing. Join the global community that refuses to accept despair. Because when we heal ourselves, we heal the planet. And when we heal the planet, we reclaim our humanity. Together. Let's be the change for our minds, for our earth, for our future.